Today I wanted to spend a bit of time exploring campervan curtains. I've already measured up the windows at the back. I've got one each side, clearly the mirror of this, and then in front of that is the door, which is this, so there's two each of these. Then we'll need to look at some sort of a closure between the passenger and driving seat and the rest of the compartment, and then the rear window. So there are a few ways of doing that. We could have the classic I-beam shaped curtain track with that has the little rollers on it that come out into a hook of some description. And the limitation with that method is how you fix it to your ceiling. Those are normally used by having something then attaches back to a wall, which clips onto the top of the extrusion, the rail. Similarly, you can get channel, which in effect is an enclosed version of the same thing, an extrusion where the runner or the glider sits inside the exclusion, and then there's a hook underneath that you hang your curtain rail off. Those come in aluminium and plastic, but yeah, they're relatively inflexible in that if I have a window shape that is not exaggerated like that, any rail that is fixed that is straight, the curtain will only cover that much. So this point here in either side isn't going to be covered by a blind. If I put it on the outside of the vehicle, so that's sitting inside the vehicle, if you imagine looking in cross-section through it, that the window is there and the support and the inner wall of the vehicle and the outer wall of the vehicle is there. Crudely, you're expecting to fix something there, a reel, and run it round, or a channel and run it round. But you've got that issue. If you then stick it on the outside and hang the curtain there, you've got this large void between the blind and the window, which I don't like personally, but you're also starting to intrude into, this is an intrusion into the amount of space you've got available in the vehicle. So I'm not hugely keen on that either. Yeah, you get various versions of that. I mean, yeah, there are, again, if this is the window roughly, because it's a lowest angle like that, it's actually on a curve. One could fix in here a roller blind possibly, and I've seen vans that have had a roller blind fitted which hangs down, but again, working within the constraints of this curve here, you end up with a void at either end, which is not terribly practical. The only way you can really cover the whole thing is if you take that drawing too quick, but it's an abstract shape that's roughly like that, is if you could take a track and run it on the inside curve, so the track or the rail sits there, and your curtains would hang all the way. This end would be relatively fixed, and if you split it in the middle, when you pulled it in that direction, you'd end up with your curtains sitting here, and pulled it, and that because of the roller stack up, whatever glider mechanism you're using, you're going to end up with your curtain sat there. It's going to have to sit outside. No, it doesn't have to sit outside, but you're going to end up losing about 15-20% of your viewing area whenever you're traveling, even if you then were to pull those back with some sort of a clip, so they sat back more like that. You're on a button fix or something, or a tie loop, as they do with domestic curtains, you are losing space. So it's an interesting little conundrum, trying to establish what's going to be the best solution, not least of which these extruded rails, regardless of what section they are not that cheap to buy. You're having to do multiple fixings to adhere them to the vehicle. You could stick something light, I suppose, with a good adhesive. So I've done a little bit of exploring with some other ways in which one might be able to do it. This is the extrusion. You could have a simple coiled, you get this, you see them in net curtains a lot, and it's a simple coiled, finely coiled wire covered in a sheath of plastic so that it's smooth, and that being wire coiled is hollow on the inside, and you screw an eyelet into it, and you hook it onto a hook that you screw on the other into the bulkhead of your vehicle, or the other way around. You put the hook here, and you put the hook here, and you put the loop into the bulkhead. But either way, I mean, that's quite effective, but it is again limited to where do you fix it. If your window is like this, again, start with this shape. Because these are the rear windows, and they open out. There's an opening mechanism there. If you fix your loop from your material on a straight length to get it to hang, you end up with a void either end. If you come down and stick it across between there, you get a void above that you've got to cover. One could have, if again looking in cross section, you could have a relatively stiff upper section and a hem on the material, top of the curtain, and your wire ran in there, and the rest, so that piece there equated to that void there. But that stiffness is going to B, time consuming to do, because you'll have to pleat it in order to get it to fold. And again, it's going to limit how it folds back when the curtains are open, which again I'm not a fan of. What I've done is I've sat down in the van, and I've created some paper templates. And from the paper templates, I've created a hardboard equivalent, and then from the hardboard equivalent, I've acquired and cut some furniture foam, with the basic idea that the furniture foam, if we look in cross section of that's the window glass crudely, and that's the bulkhead, and that's the lower part of the vehicle inner, and there's all manner of seals and whatnot here, but crudely, he said, the basic concept here is that, well, actually, if we have a piece of foam that is covered in material that is bigger than the void it's being pushed into, it will spring out, hold itself in place, be flush with the inside of the vehicle. It won't be an obstruction, will provide some insulation, both thermal and sound qualities to it, which might be good. And then thought, well, actually, there's always a left and a right on any of these. Any vehicle, there's a left and a right. So if that's the passenger side, then on the driver's side, you're repeating this piece of foamy stuff jammed in that springs up and just holds itself in place while you're, after all, you're only going to be putting these up whenever you're using the van to sleep in, and it's static. So there's not going to be any worry about them popping out. But I did have the thought that if one had this side silver and this side silver, this side matte black, and this side matte black, then they would be interchangeable, and that you could take this one off and put it here, and this one off and put it here, in which case this would become matte black. And this one would become matte black with silver in the middle or in the inside. Which I thought, well, that could be quite cool, because during the day, if it got really hot, you could have the silver on the outside to deflect the heat, so the van didn't get too hot inside, and at night you reverse it, so the silver's on the inside, keeping the heat in, and the black's on the outside to soak up any heat that there was around. So I'm going to prototype that and see if it works.